Going on, everybody? Shay5969 here, and today I have a special guest in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Lance, a.k.a. Adventure 50. How are you, sir?
Well, I am special. My mommy said so.
Well, right on.
No, I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
Great, man. Very good. I really appreciate you taking the time to join me for one of these. Um,
Absolutely.
I've been a fan of your content for a while as well, and then I believe we started interacting. Like I mentioned some lives for a
Hmm.
while now. So
Yep, yep.
um,
And I've jumped in on when you were doing some lives and jumped in the conversation, and you're doing pretty good with that.
hey,
I
thank you
like it.
very much. I appreciate that. Excuse me. So yeah, man, get right into it. First thing I actually wanted to ask you is, what were you carrying today?
Wasn't necessarily carrying, but this just came in the mail today. And actually, once we're done here, I'm going to wind up doing a video on it. And
Ooh,
this is the new Finch stub nose.
that's pretty.
So
Very cool.
yeah, got has the beautiful red Kieranite scales on there. 154 cm, you know, blade steel. Got that
Right on.
Bowie blade, and the jimping on it is amazing. It's not a giant knife, but I still get four fingers on it,
Right.
and it's really aggressive looking.
Yeah, no, I've heard a lot of good things about Finch. I haven't had the chance to experience one yet, but I've definitely they make some cool looking blades for sure, and I like the red on that. That looks really cool.
They have a blacked out version that's really hot too.
Oh,
The
right
other
on.
two the other two colors I'm not like they have an abalone handle one, which is okay, and then they have like a cream colored one. I think the red and the blacked out one are really the two best.
Okay.
So I was
Right
excited.
on.
I never know because I collaborate with Finch, so they send it to me, and I never know what color I'm going to get. And I always joke. I was joking with Titanium just the other day that no matter what color I get, it's usually the worst one out of the bunch. But I think this time I got the right one.
Right on. Yeah, that red looks really good. Um, so first question I like to ask a lot of people, other than obviously what are you
Oh,
carrying, but
hold on. There was other thing I was carrying before I
oh yeah, go
forget,
ahead, go ahead.
and this is the Queen knife flip joint. This is their Barlow.
Oh, that's cool.
So Queen knives is a USA. Well, they were a USA made brand, and this actually is made in USA.
Very cool.
But they got bought by Smoky Mountain Knife Works now, so they're owned by Smoky Mountain Knife Works.
Now, are they
But
formerly Queen Cutlery?
yes,
Okay, my
yes,
grandpa actually one of the only I only have like a few sentimental pieces in my
mhm,
collection, and one of them is an old Queen's Cutlery rawhide 440 stainless that my grandpa's like service knife, fixed blade.
nice.
And my dad gave it to me after he passed away. He was like, "Hey, I think you would like this." So I
That's awesome.
spent a lot of time polishing it and
Knives like
reconditioning
that,
the teeth.
that have a story are the best ones.
Oh, absolutely. I love it when it just tells a story. Um,
But these,
so
but these just real quick, these are a great deal. Like this one right now is on sale. It's only like $53. It's it's N390 steel,
okay.
burlap micarta. It's a slip joint, but the walk and talk is really good on it, and it's a larger size slip joint. So
Yeah.
if you like slip joints, definitely worth it. Made in
Right
the
on.
USA.
Very cool. Very cool. So I like to kick this one off for you. And I know that I believe you're a fellow musician as well. I was like we were talking
Yep.
gear a little bit before we started. So do you consider yourself an artist?
I actually I actually went to college for art. My major was art and advertising design.
Oh wow. Okay.
So yeah, so I basically that's a nice way of saying commercial art.
Right on.
So yes, I am an artist. I love I don't do it as much anymore, but I used to love doing artwork. And then I drifted away from art when I got into music, and music became my first love.
Very
Um,
cool.
it's hard right now. It's hard for me to get into the mindset for artwork. Periodically, I'll doodle stuff, um, and I have an idea for a knife. I'm actually talking to a company right now about collaborating on something, and if all goes well, we're kind of looking at it's a very small release, maybe in June, from a
Very
small
cool.
maker.
Very cool.
So yeah, so I have a lot of design ideas. Now, one of the things is because of my day job, I do a lot of artwork, but it's not what I like to do.
Right.
It's requirements, for my day job. So
Oh, but that's very cool, and I always make this point as well, and, it's like, whether it comes down to, like you were saying, whether you're pulling out and, doing a painting or, physical drawing or something like that, or, if you're playing some music or if you're content creating, it's all kind of, artistically inclined, right? So, would you also say that, like, content creating, you feel like that's kind of a creative outlet for you in a sense?
yes, um, but it's weird because if you watch my channel, there's two very different types of videos. There's videos where I would go out and go to like crazy roadside attractions and do like all this crazy stuff that had nothing to do with knives. Because my channel started out as a motorcycle camping channel.
Okay.
So, and then COVID hit, and after that, I had a bad accident, and I backed off. But a lot of the stuff was like I used to love to go to the craziest roadside attractions you could think of. Like I went to Pennsylvania to this place called Big Ed's uh, Candy Barn. They've got an elephant museum. They've got like every imaginable statue of an elephant in this place. Just as no, and it was like I was digging that doing that stuff, but nobody was watching it.
That's
So now,
funny.
so now COVID hits, right? And I'm sitting at home, and I've always been a knife guy. I've been into knives since I was like, I got my first knife, I think, at 12 years old. And I told the story on my channel where I went into a corner bodega in Brooklyn, New York, and I bought this, you know, little slip joint knife for $2.50, and I had to hide it from my dad because my dad had forbid me to get knives because when
Right.
he was younger, he got stabbed through the hand and had to have multiple surgeries.
Oh boy.
So I had these delusions that I was going to hide this knife on me, and one day we were going to get mugged, and I was going to pull this knife out and defend us with it, and that was going to convince my dad we needed a knife. You know, it was the stupidest childish thing, but I was only like 12 years old. But with that being said, I was sitting there during COVID, and I'm like, well, I'm watching all these videos, and I was going out by myself camping because we get to separate from the world, and that was the easiest way to do it. Just go out and just
Right.
hang out in the woods by myself, and but then when I would come home, I'd be like missing it, and I'd be like, all right, let's see what channel I could find it, on YouTube. And I'm watching all these camping guys, and the next thing I know, I'm watching like I'll give you like some of the channels, like G Ball Vision. I was watching Marine X, Bees Blade, you know, Neves, all the big ones. And I started watching it. I'm like, wow, they're doing knife content. And then like Gideon's Tactical. And then I was watching all this bushcrafting stuff because I really love bushcrafting and that kind of stuff. So I was like, I think I could do it. I know knives inside and out. I've had them my whole life. I was like, I'm going to try it. And I just, for like one day, I just did a short on the first knife I did was just as like a 30-second short, was the Kaiser original in the
Okay.
Serape finish. It was a button lock, and I just did it like a 30-second short where I was flipping it around because there's a button lock you can fidget with it.
Right.
All of a sudden, that thing out of nowhere got like 500 views. Like, whoa, wait, there's like 500 views for me just playing with a knife for 30 seconds. I was like, all right, maybe there's something here. That's when I just shifted my whole focus to EDC and that.
Right on.
So, so is it creative? Yes. When I get to shoot what I want to shoot, though, like a lot of times, like right now, I'm under the gun because I've got collaborations that I'm working on with companies, and like I feel like I'm under a pressure to get them done within a certain amount of time, and I'm behind right now. So, like over the next 2 weeks, the videos I put out, like regular videos that aren't members only, are stuff that I'm obligated, and no one's paying me to do it. It's just they sent me stuff to test and whatnot, and I feel like I owe it to them to get it out in a timely manner.
Sure.
And like no one tells me what to say or any of that good stuff. I've been really lucky with that. Like not one company has reached out and said, "Hey, you have to say this," or, and nobody's actually put pressure on me for time. But I feel like I'm obligated to do it. They're sending me stuff. I'm testing it. In a lot of cases, like I've got a flashlight that I have to review that I'm going to be doing probably over the weekend recording it because we're going to be snowed in, snow
Sure.
apocalypse here. I'm sure. I don't know if where you are. Where are you exactly?
I'm over in Metro Detroit.
Okay, so you're going to avoid the big storm.
Yeah, we're gonna avoid the big storm, but we're about to get the freezing cold with it or whatever.
Yeah,
So hopefully we won't get too bad. Knock on wood, but you never
yeah.
know.
They're talking about 12 to 18 inches for us
Whew.
Sunday into Monday. So I figured
Yeah.
I'll be stuck home recording videos. So not the worst thing to have, but like one of the things is I wanted to test out this flashlight. I've had it for a while. Like I've had it for like 4 months, and I've honestly been using it. And I want to like so when I talk about it in the video, it's because I've used it. I feel really good about it. If I didn't feel good about it, I would actually just tell them, listen, I don't feel good about putting this on my channel, type of thing.
Right.
I'd rather not go on and bash a product if I don't like it. I'd just rather not do it and tell the company, and this is why. But I only had to do that really once. But like I said, so I just feel like I'm behind right now and have to catch up. But like lately, my members' first videos that I've been doing have been
Mhm.
stuff I've wanted to do,
Right on.
and I mean I want to do all of it. Don't make it sound it's not a burden. I actually enjoy doing all of it.
Right.
You know, it's just that, and because you know the struggle. You work a full time job. You have a family. You're doing stuff, and
Totally.
and beside my doing my day job, I also have a photography business, which is also a creative outlet for me.
Right.
And that's really my second thing. And then the knife content is actually the third thing I do. So it's a balancing act, and but I
Totally.
enjoy it. Like it makes it all worth it. Like especially like when you get positive comments on your videos and people are liking the videos and that whatnot. And I love doing the live stream on Sunday night. I think that's so much fun, just hanging out with the knife community, you
Totally.
know, shooting the shit back and forth, and just laying it all out there, having fun. I don't care if I make a fool
Absolutely.
of myself sometimes, and I know I do, but it's all fun.
Oh, yeah,
You
and
know.
I think a lot of it comes back to, like, I've heard this said a couple times, and I think I can totally relate to this too. It's like, eventually people keep coming back for you. They like you as well as the content, right? But,
Mhm.
so I think about that from time to time as well. But so you kind of touched on this a little bit. So how you said you had your first knife when you were 12. So would you say that's
Yeah.
like kind of how long you've been collecting for? Because I wanted to ask, like, how long
No.
have you been collecting versus creating content about knives? And you kind of touched on both those a little bit.
Well, okay. So I wouldn't say I was collecting. Over the years, I've bought knives for like more functional type of things than collecting.
Sure,
It
I can
wasn't
relate to
until I
that.
started really getting into the EDC community that I started collecting. And my collection went up from like 10 knives to like I'm like well over 300 now.
Whew.
It's
Yeah.
insane. Um, but a lot of the stuff I buy, I pretty much the knives. Like I'm careful about what I buy. Just don't buy everything,
Mm-hmm.
which is why sometimes you don't see. And I'm not given a lot of knives. Like there's certain companies like altogether, and I know it's going to sound like a lot, but I've collaborated with about 14 companies now.
Right
I
on.
have a couple more that are on the way. That'll be the first time I'm collaborating. So, and that's been a slow build. That's been a really slow build. So, like the majority of the knives that you see on my channel, I bought. Which is why I can talk about them honestly, and I can talk about all of them honestly. Like I said, like I will give you an example. I just got a company reached out to me, and they wanted me to do a video on a drone because they know I used to do the outdoor content. They're like, "Oh,
Right.
we think we can get it." But here's the thing, and this is where I got really um, not pissed off, but I was like, "No, I'm just not doing this." They wanted to have me do a video on the drone. They wanted to send me talking points. They wanted to send me all kinds of digital media that I could mix into my videos, but they weren't going to send me the drone until after I did a positive video for them. I'm
Hmm.
like, yeah, exactly. I was like, what the heck? I was
Interesting.
like, there's no way I'm doing a positive video if I don't actually have the product test.
Right. Or even get to mess
I
with
was like,
it.
yeah, I was like, that's crap. I was like, and I have drones, and it wasn't about like, oh, I want a free drone because no, I could, if they had said, hey, we'll send it to you, even if they said, hey, we'll send it to you, you want to send it back afterwards, that would have been fine because then I could
Right.
take it out, try it, and whatnot. But they're like, no, we're going to give you a list of talking points. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Are you out of your mind?
Right.
You know, there's no way. I was like, I have a bit of integrity. I can be bought, but not that that.
Right. No. Yeah, so, and then so, like I said, collecting versus, creating content, you said you
It,
only started really collecting when you got into, creating content more so?
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's the thing. It was because again, I was always using my knife. Like my first
Right.
real serious knife was my parents when I hit 17. they coordinated with the rest of my family that on my 17th birthday, because they knew I loved the outdoors and I loved camping, that they were all going to buy me parts of a camping kit. Who
Oh,
bought me a
nice.
backpack? Who bought me sleeping bags? Who bought me lanterns? And my parents gave me the what's what's now known as the Swiss Champ, but back then it was the predecessor called the Swiss Champion, and it's one of those really wide Swiss Army knives that has like a million tools on it.
Okay.
So I got that when I was 17, so 1987. That has been on every camping trip I've ever been on in my life.
Very cool.
Even today, like I've done maintenance where I've taken it apart, cleaned it up because like there was one time where a storm broke out. I left it outside. You know, I ran into the tent. It was out overnight. Forgot about it. Got up the next day and it was all like gummed up. It was just and I didn't clean it out properly because I was camping and it got a little rusty. So I had to take the whole thing apart. But you look at this knife. It's however many years old at this point, and it still looks great because that was a knife. That's one of my story knives. It was given to me by
Right.
my family,
Right.
and I just love that knife. But that was the thing. Like I had fixed blades. I didn't really have too many folders. I want to say about 2018, I started buying some more modern foldering knives. You know, because before that it was like a buck 110. Your
Oh,
traditional
yeah.
knife. That's what I had. That's what I knew. And then it was like 2018. At the time, I was working for Lowe's, as a kitchen designer, which goes back to my days in art because I transitioned to kitchen design. Long story short, and they started getting at Lowe's at the time all these CRKT knives, these SOGs, and Kershaws, and trying to think it was somebody else. And I started seeing all these knives, and I was like, "Wow, these are really cool looking." And that's when I started buying some of the modern, folders that we think about today,
Right, right.
you know. And I had a couple like before we went on, I was showing you that where'd it go? Here. So this is like a K bar. This is a K bar dozer,
Very
right?
cool.
So it's a lockback. It's more of a traditional knife. This came out in like 2002. I've had this for a long time. It's well worn. But these were user knives to me. They really weren't collectible.
Right.
It wasn't until I started watching all the other YouTubers, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And then I started to like, oh, these people are really collecting. I started to really dig in and figure out what's what, who are the companies. And I'm one of those people like when I start to get into something, I jump in head first and like I really absorb everything. So I started reading, going online, reading about all these companies, reading about like at the time these were newer companies like I never heard of like Kaiser and Savini and all those companies. Like who are they? I knew the Bucks of the world, the Kershaws, that kind of thing.
Right.
I didn't know about Benchmade yet. I didn't know Spyderco. I knew Spyderco because I knew the look of it, but I didn't know it was a Spyderco.
Right,
Like
right.
I knew that stuff. I saw it in various outdoor magazines and
Sure.
stuff, and I really didn't pay attention. And then all of a sudden, I was like, "This is really cool." And then it's just like you buy one knife, and you watch somebody else's YouTube video, and they're showing you this thing. Oh, I really like that. I want to try that, and I get that, and then I would get
Right.
this, and I would get that, and it got out of hand. Like last year was just really out of hand because not only was I collecting, but I was buying stuff at nauseum just so I could create content. If you look, I did like 200 shorts last year showing my daily carry. I don't think I repeated one night.
Dang.
So,
That's 365 knives right there. Shoot.
yeah, I mean, I didn't, like I said, only did about 200 shorts, but still, I didn't
Right.
repeat one night, you know,
No,
or
yeah.
if I did, it was after I modified it, you know.
Yeah, and I
So
always say, collecting can take a turn sometimes, as I'm sure, like, you're aware, as other people are aware, sometimes when you get into this facet of collecting, especially with knives, like, sometimes, like, the collection bug getting bit by that collection bug can keep into, like or can turn into, like, trying to keep up with others' collections, and it's like, it can get overwhelming really quick if you're not careful and stuff like that. You know
well,
what I
and
mean?
the other thing, well, and the other thing too is when I first, started the channel, it didn't occur to me that people were just being given knives by companies, and I'm like, wow, they're doing this. I got to do this to try and keep up or try to establish myself. A
Right.
lot of it was just trying to establish myself as a channel, um, just by continuing to try and put out content. And for a little while, I was burning myself out. Now I've got a pace where I try to do like 4 to 5 shorts a week and 3 long form videos. You know, it
Right
took a
on.
little took a little turn towards the end of last year because the holidays and everything, but I'm back on schedule for that. I did not put out a long form video today, but I'll have it out tomorrow.
Right on.
So, and that'll be the third for the week. And I try to put a members video out. So the way I try to lay it out, it's not always happening, but we're getting better at it. Just put out a new video on Tuesday, members first video out on Wednesday, new video out on Thursday, and then when Monday rolls around, that members first video goes public,
Okay.
and then it starts the cycle again. So really, you wind up, if you're not a channel member, you wind up with 4 videos a week,
Right on.
so to speak, or actually three. You still wind up with three
So we kind of
because
touched
one
on
is
this again a little bit so far, but so what would you say like a couple of your biggest passions are outside of knives and EDC? I know you said camping was really big for you. What are a few other?
outdoors,
And you said
outdoors,
music and photography.
traveling, music, photography. Real, it's hard. Music, photography are right there. They're loves of mine. But I love cooking. Like
Oh,
I
okay.
love to cook.
Very cool.
Um, but some of the other things, I play disc golf. Disc golf is a love of mine.
Right on.
Um, you know, because I'm into a lot of different things. My wife says that's one of my problems. I'm into so many different things.
Right.
I mean, but it goes. I mean, it's hard to say. It's like what some of my other hobbies are. Like it's definitely traveling, outdoor stuff. Um, I'm not big into watching movies. Not big into watching TV. I watch a ton of sport.
Right on.
Sports, pro wrestling. I think that's because I grew up when I was younger. It's hard to tell now, but I was an athlete growing up. My dad was an athletic director, so I got pushed into sports when I was a little kid, and I just loved every part of it.
Right on.
And I have a wife who actually likes sports as well, so
Same.
we'll be more apt to watch football than we will to whatever shows on TV. Like
Same.
people are always like, "Did you watch Stranger Things?" Like, nope, not yet. You know, I think the only series we watched completely in the last year was Wednesday.
Oh, right on.
So, but like we don't watch a ton of movies. Um, so it's like one of those things. I love to be out and about and adventuring. I also love to read. Like I need to like I love to like that's one of the other things too. Like I love to learn constantly, so I'm reading like at nauseum. Like
What you're
whether it be,
reading?
hey, there's an article on this.
What you
What's that?
What you mid read right now?
I
Anything
am actually,
specific?
yeah, I'm actually reading a book about Blackbeard.
Okay.
Um, a Blackbeard down on the in Burlington County, New Jersey, because there's a belief that when he was up in New Jersey, that's where he buried his treasure. People have
Oh,
been looking for it for years. So I'm reading a book on that right now
very
that I
cool.
found really fascinating. And
Very
then
cool.
over the last week, I watched a few documentaries on the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and like I find a lot of like World War II stuff fascinating. You know, But I'm like, it's hard to say because, like I said, my wife says I have way, way too many. Oh, watches. I'm a watch collector too.
Ah, very cool.
So I'm a collector of many things. That's what my wife, she's like, she will rag on me. She's like, you jump into everything, head first. She goes, you'll go out and spend all this money on everything. She goes, then you get bored and then you switch to a new hobby. And she's right about that. There was a time where drones were a big hobby of mine. But one of my other passions is motorcycles. I love motorcycles. You
Very
know,
cool.
um, I actually intend to. There's going to be a lot more outdoor content on the channel coming up, and once we start to get to the warmer weather, there's going to be because, to me, outdoor content EDC kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, I'd
You
agree with
know,
that.
And it's one of those things I look at sometimes, like I watch some of the other YouTubers, and this is not a knock at anybody, but I see things differently because I'm more of an outdoor guy as opposed to an EDC, where they're looking at things from an EDC perspective, you know. which is why a lot of times like they'll talk about things on a knife that I really don't care about, but I know what I care about on a knife they don't care about.
Sure.
So it's one of those, you know. In fact, I did a video on that. Why so many YouTubers have different perspectives. Like if you get a guy like I don't know if you watch Gideon's Tactical, his channel.
I don't think
I
so.
mean,
I
you
might
got to check
follow
out
him.
his
I
channel.
might follow him, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
He does. He's an outdoors guy, and he tests literally every night outdoors, batoning and doing this and doing that, um, and he talks about EDC too. But it's really focused on putting knives through tests, and not like a Sasa where it's going through like a cut test and this that the other thing. Because I love Sasa, he does great stuff, but he's putting it more through hard use stuff because he's more of an outdoor, a hiker, outdoor kind of guy,
Sure.
and he sees things way different than like say like Richard Metal Complex or like like any type of guys like that, because those are guys who are collectors who look at things from the EDC perspective and they're looking at it from the science of it, but sometimes the science of it doesn't work in the real world.
Oh, I totally can relate to that. And then I also always say that it's like, ties back into art as well. It's like, art is subjective, design is subjective, right? So it's
Sure,
like,
sure.
what catches your eye might not catch mine and vice versa, right? So,
Well, yeah, you're right about that. Like one of the things that's been a big push in the last, I want to say 6 months, with a lot of other YouTubers talking about how they hate, or not hate, but they're tired of seeing crossbar locks. And I'll be honest, I love a good crossbar lock.
well,
I'm that guy.
when it's done well, it's
Hmm.
fidgety and functional. I like one as well.
And my least favorite um, locking system is a frame lock, and not
Okay.
because they don't work; they work phenomenally. But I don't like where you have a frame lock where the show side is say finished in like a nice camel carbon, and then you flip it over, and the other side is just a plain steel.
You like both sides the same?
I love having both sides look the same.
Right on.
You know, so like for instance, like this one here. No, not this one. Wrong knife. Wrong knife. What am I looking for here? Oh, well, here you go. The Jack Wolf. I mean, it's a frame bolster, you know, but it looks the same on both sides. That I don't find annoying,
Right
you
on.
know. But like you said, everybody likes a different design aesthetic.
Totally.
You know, some people are gonna like sheepfoot blades. Some people are gonna like Tantos. Others will hate Tantos. It's just you know.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say is, I don't think there's a knife I ever saw that I really dislike. There are some
Right.
knives I look at and they're just to me like I look at them and go, they're just a little plain, or they don't really do much for me. And there are other knives that like I know that I love, and other people just look at and go, I don't like that at all. You know.
Totally. Yeah, I can relate to that for sure. So kind of staying with like the art theme a little bit.
Hmm.
So a lot of modern EDC companies and different knife companies, a lot of them have similar aesthetics, and then there's some that have totally different art styles and art aesthetics. Can you think of any off the top of your head that like their art style you really like or identify with? Like for me, example, I don't own one in my collection yet, but I really like McNeese boxes and their artwork
Hmm.
that they use. It reminds me of like old school sailor tattoos and stuff like that, and I
Right, right.
really dig that aesthetic. But can you think of anything like that where like you really dig the art style of a particular company off the top of your head?
Well, just from a packaging standpoint, if you look at Jack Wolf knives,
Yeah,
the
very cool.
tubes they come in, they're so decorative. They look awesome. You
Totally,
know. Um, I oh by the way, before I when I picked that last knife up, I said Jack Wolf. I meant to say Finch. Um, but they're one of the companies like their packaging just pops and stands out to me. You know.
totally,
Um,
very
but then
colorful.
you have yeah, exactly. Then you have other companies that like are very subdued in their boxes. Like Naps is that way. Naps is kind of a plain box. It just says Naps on it and a couple little things on it. And you know what? I dig that aesthetic too because it's a more back to basics type of thing. But if you're looking for over the top artwork, the Jack Wolf, all their stuff is like over the top, really cool looking art.
Very cool.
And then you have
Yeah,
companies like like Savivi, just a plain white box type
right,
of thing.
right.
You know, I mean, does the box make it? No, but I do think there's an unboxing experience.
I agree
You
with
know,
that.
a company that does it really well. James brand, a company that a lot of people don't like because they feel the knives are too hipster. They feel they're too expensive for what they are. But that unboxing, that experience, their boxes are unique and they're different than everybody else's. When you open it up, you say to yourself, "Yeah, I know why the knives are so much because I'm paying a lot more for this box." You know,
Right, right.
but there's that initial unboxing experience. You know,
No, totally.
and I got that from Chavez. I thought they had a really good unboxing experience. Trying to think of
I got one up.
Artform.
Oh, okay.
Even though they're not in business anymore, but like I recently just got the Artform Saber.
Okay.
You know, Blade HQ had a few of them floating around. The box was done really well on it. You know, and I'm glad to see that. It's the same company, but Titanium is now starting to put out the Artform design under the
Yeah, yeah.
Titanium name, with the Theory and whatnot.
Yeah, the
But
Theory, the one I saw the DLC version, I believe it is, or
mm,
DLC, I believe it's not DLC, it's PVD, right, or something like that. But that one
right,
looks really cool design for sure. So we'll have to see. But another one I was thinking of too, Concept, with their boxes. I
yep.
like how you get the box, you get the pouch, you get the
hmm
cleaning cloth, and all
And the
that
way and the
stuff.
way their box, slides into each other.
Yes,
You've got that
yeah,
diagonal cut, and you pull it apart. Another nice presentation.
right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But then again, you don't necessarily need it.
No,
It's
I
one of those things.
totally agree with it. Both sides of
Mhm.
those, very much so. So if you won a free trip to anywhere in the world, you wake up tomorrow, you get to go wherever you want. Um,
Oh,
where would you go and why?
mm, I know this is weird. Like, I know a lot of people want to travel outside the U.S.
Hmm.
I'm not one of those people. Like, to me, I could spend the rest of my life traveling the U.S. and never see everything.
Okay.
You know. But I think I would want to go. Like, if I did have to go outside of the U.S., I would definitely want to go to Europe.
Okay.
You know,
Very cool.
I kind of would want to hit. Definitely would want to hit England. You know, Ireland, Italy. I'd like to do that kind of junket where you go through different countries.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Um, but I also think I'd love to see Japan.
Very cool.
You know,
Me as well. Me as well.
and there's also like, but that's the whole thing. Like, it's really weird. My wife really wants to travel over to Europe, and I'm always like, I don't know if I want to go to Europe. Because as cool as it looks and like the history and everything, there's so much. Like my ideal trip would be to retire, get a Winnebago, and just drive around the country traveling.
Very
You
cool.
know, that's kind of my hope someday. You know, but yeah, yeah. I don't know. Are you hearing my air conditioner
Oh no, you're
at
good.
all?
You sound good.
Okay, good.
No worries at all.
Because it keeps clicking on because my in this room my air conditioner is also the heating unit and it keeps clicking on. But
Oh
as
no,
long as
yeah.
you can't hear it, I'm good.
Can't hear nothing.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're
All
good.
right.
Um, okay, so kind of taking it back to the knives and the content side of thing. One thing I wanted to ask you is, do you have like a Mount Rushmore of maybe some of your favorite knife designers? Um, or like some of your favorite brands maybe that you've got to experience?
Well, I had both. I had both.
Okay,
I have a Mount Rushmore of designers that their style speaks.
sure.
Bob Pizzula,
Okay,
right away. He's my top. The inventor of the tactical knife. I love his stuff. Ken Onion. Ken
totally.
Onion's right there for me. Um, hard to say after that. I know it's going to be. I know he's a newer designer on the scene, only like the last 4 or 5 years. But I love the stuff Ben Peterson is doing over at NAS. I love everything NAS.
Right on.
I'm a NAS fanboy. Um, After that, it's really hard to say.
It is because there's a
You
lot
know,
of there's a lot of good designers out there for sure, and
you know
especially as collectors, you get to handle so many different pieces. You know.
exactly. I mean, like, hey, someone who I consider a friend, Dylan Mallory. I love Mallory's design.
Same, same.
You
I
know,
love Mallory
and
designs.
to the point where I made it. I made it a mission that when he posted that new Kickstarter, that I was going to be the first backer, and I was.
Very cool.
You know, because I love Dylan's design.
Same.
You know, and on a fixed blade side, and mind you, I'm not talking about like all time design, but like some of my favorites where the design language speaks to me is Aries EDC. Scott Halpern, his designs. I mean, I have two of his custom knives. I just put in an order for a third. I've got, his production knives. I've got the Kubi Bloom, the Kubi Thorn, and I know soon, sometime this year, the Rock Hopper is going to be coming out. I like his design aesthetic. I really like, you know, Gabco knives. He's got some really wild styles, you know,
Okay.
that I really love. But it's hard to take. There's so many,
There is.
Don't
There is.
Stop Hell. I mean, the list is endless of designers I like.
And then it's
You
almost
know,
like I always say, you name five, you leave five out, right? And it's like whether you're talking designers or companies, there's so many that do it well, you know what I mean, and turn a good product that it is hard to narrow it down for sure. But that's always a question I like to ask to just kind of get.
well, and if you're talking about knife companies, I have more Kaiser knives than any other brand.
Okay.
After that, I have more NAF products than any other. Spyderco, I have a lot of Spyderco, and after that, it's a mixture. It's like I'm all over the place.
Right on.
I've got a lot of, got a lot of Kershaw. You know, um, I mean, I pretty much have something by just about all the brands, even if it's just one knife. That's the other thing. I'm trying now to get brands I don't already have.
Yeah.
Like most recently, I didn't have any Migarons, so I added a Migaron to my collection
Very
because I
cool.
want to experience all these companies. But yeah, I want Kaiser is what I have the most of. I just find myself drawn to Kaiser knives constantly,
Right on.
and I have a bunch of Civivi, um, and the USA companies. I've got a ton of Benchmade. I know people will dog on Benchmade all day long, but I don't care. I know they're costly, but they make a good knife. I don't care what anybody says.
Sure do,
You
brother.
know,
Sure do. I
there you
got
go.
my Benchmade on me
You know,
tonight.
multiple bug outs. You know,
Yeah, I was gifted my first bug out this year for Christmas from the wife, and also my first Spyderco this year for Christmas from the wife, and both of those are just awesome blades for sure. I see why the bug out is one of the most sold EDC folders because it is such a great knife.
the other thing too, it's fun to modify bug outs because there's so many parts available.
Yeah, which is so
You know,
cool.
like I'm sitting here and I've got brand new scales from Titanium for one of my bug outs. This
Very
is
cool.
one of the this is the titanium, the modular scales where you can put in the different inserts.
Ah,
So right now these are on clearance at Titanium. You could buy the whole set for $35. It's amazing.
wow, that's a really
So
good deal.
so what I did was got the modular scale, right? And I haven't put it together yet. And then the Damascus tie
Wow,
insert.
very cool.
So that's going to go on one of the bug outs. They're just fun to modify because there's so many options and parts,
Right.
you know, like
And that's not
one of the
something
knives.
that's not something that everybody offers either nowadays, you know what I mean? And especially in a
No,
world of modern knives, it's crazy that not more companies make like more secondary part offerings, you know what I mean?
well, the big thing is that one, a lot of people are afraid to work on their knives, and I've never been afraid. I've always been a tinkerer, so because my thing is that what's the worst that happens? I break it. I'll figure out how to fix it at some point. It doesn't matter,
Right.
you know. First time I did a Benchmade, I put it back together all wrong. It was a learning experience. And it didn't help that I didn't have a pivot tool. I was, doing it all, trying to line it up without a pivot tool. Once I learned about the pivot tool, it changed everything. Made it so easy to take the thing apart. But like even like this is a titanium beef, and this one's been totally upgraded. Titanium scales, S90V blade, skiff bearings on the inside.
Ooh.
You know, yeah. This is like so. I took this from yes, they took it from a $60 knife, with that had the D2 steel, and added a $70 blade and scales that were $50 or so. But it's become a premium knife now,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And I did buy everything on sale, so I didn't pay full price for anything because that's the other thing. I'm cheap sometimes, so I will like wait for something to go on sale and just wait and wait and wait, and then throw a discount code on top of it if it works,
Right.
just to
Right.
try to get them dirt cheap.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Like before we even came on tonight, I made a vow I'm not buying a ton of knives this year because I bought so many last year. But even like, it doesn't mean I don't go window shopping. So right before we came on, I was sitting there while I was sharpening the K bar. I was kind of sitting there just scrolling on my tablet, looking at what White Mountain Knives had for sale in the discontinued section.
Right on.
Because I'm not above buying a discontinued knife.
No, same.
Problem with that, the problem with that is though, you don't get content out of a discontinued knife because no one's gonna watch, an old model
That makes sense.
unless they're gonna buy it, unless they're gonna buy it themselves.
That makes
And then they
sense.
go back. Like I do that all the time. Like if I'm buying a knife, I'll look at other people's videos. Say, "Well, I really like that. Do I really want it?"
Right. Yeah, no, that's a good point too. I never really thought about that as well. So that's definitely a good point. Um, so kind of going back to the art side of things, like
Mhm.
what art would you say you take the most inspiration from into your content creating, whether it be like your love of music or your love of maybe photography? What would you say like you take with you into the knife and content creation side of things the most?
Oh, that's hard because I don't necessarily know. Like I don't know. To me, a knife content video, unless you're doing something like an outdoors video where you're doing something outdoors and you get to be creative with it, and cut it all up. But like a basic, shot down on the desk type of thing, to me is more of an information dump sort of thing.
Sure.
I don't
Makes
really
sense.
get to be artistic with that. I think the most artistic thing, if you look, is my videos. I've got a weird camouflage mat that I use, and I've got all little, pocket jewelry around my mat. Whether it be the little kitty cats or whatever, and they constantly change. Watch videos, the stuff I put on there changes. I think that might be kind of like my little artistic expression, and I always like, I wonder if anybody noticed that,
I dig that
type of thing.
because, now that you say that, that's really funny. I watch another podcast a lot as well, and they do the same thing with a bookshelf in the background. It's just
Mhm.
slight, ever so different changes that maybe will hint at the next guest on the show or, something like that,
Right,
right?
right.
But it's just those ever so little changes, you know what I mean? I think that's really cool touch. Um,
Yeah, but like when I go out and do the stuff like the roadside attractions videos, I get to be creative because I get to take weird angles and stuff,
totally.
and just try to make it flow into like a little continuous story. And then I can do music for it and, kind of put together a storyboard in my head, how I want it to go. And over the years, I started out really raw with that stuff and I got much better towards the end of doing that stuff. And then when I moved into like the knife content, you don't get that creative freedom as much.
Sure.
And I think that's why I want to do more of the outdoor stuff this year because I do get when we do the outdoor stuff, there'll be a lot more. And of course, it's going to be, the outdoor stuff conducive with the night content. It's all going to be hand in hand. You know.
Right on. Yeah, so, what would you say are a few of your, like, personal favorite artists? Like, whether it be, like, bands or painters or photographers, like, anyone specific that you, like,
We
really,
we
really
could just start, here and go for the next 24 hours talking bands, um,
Totally.
but I mean, if you want to be real quick, I could go run down a list of my say top 10 bands, not necessarily in order. And you're going to notice something. A lot of the bands I like are very theatrical. Kiss, the Misfits,
I love the
the
Misfits.
Ramones. Um, you know, but I love bands like Typo Negative. It helps that I knew those guys. Um, but like, but I'm all over the map when it comes to music. Of course, I'm a musician. I mean, it's always going to be for me metal, punk, hardcore, because that's the stuff I grew up on. You know, but I like good old classic rock as well. Like one of my favorite bands is the Police. which really doesn't make sense in the mix of bands that I like, because they're a lot more reggae, ska influenced as far into pop, you know. But I like all that stuff, and like Jimi Hendrix is a hero of mine. You know, um,
Absolutely.
I like a lot of the guitar shredders, whether it be Yngwie Malmsteen, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai. I love shredding. Um, I know some people think it's like it's just yeah, it is, but I love the technique behind it.
Right.
You know, None of those guys have hits, and they never will because it's all about technique and speed. And then conversely, I love a good crafted song. You know, you can give me a good old Rolling Stones song that's got a catchy hook and good beat to it, or and my music taste. Like one of the things I always like. My dad was a musician. He was a great drummer, and there was a point in his life where he stopped listening to new music. And I said I never want to be that way. So I continue to go out there try and find new music all the time.
Very cool.
I have friends who are the same age as me, and they're like, "Oh, there's nothing good out there." I'm like, "No, it's not that there's nothing good. It's not being spoon fed to you because rock isn't played on the radio anymore. But there's plenty of good music out there. You just got to find it."
Right.
You know, um, but like it's hard to say because like literally I could sit like whether it be '80s hair metal, I love all of that. Whether it be
Same.
'70s glam rock, I love
Same.
all of that. Punk, I mean,
Same.
Marilyn Manson is one of my favorites. The over the top stage show, Guar. I mean, insane stuff. Uh, you know, but then I can also respect the guy who just gets up there with an acoustic guitar and sings and plays. Do I prefer a
Absolutely.
big giant bombastic stage show? Yeah, because I love that almost like Broadway element. To me, Kiss was not necessarily they're not the greatest musicians ever, but when you went to a Kiss show, it was like nothing else you've ever seen. You
Very
know,
cool.
Alice Cooper's the same way. You know, but I love really really heavy metal. I'm talking about stuff that makes Metallica go, oh, that's really heavy. you know,
Yeah, I've seen Cannibal
Stuff like
Corpse live.
I had too, and I was at
Great
a
show.
show where I was at Lemoore in Brooklyn when years ago when Lemoore was still open, and it was the weirdest thing. Cannibal Corpse, a lot of those death metal bands, for some reason, they bring in a big Latin, especially Mexican audience. I don't know if you've noticed that. And those shows get really violent. I don't mean violent in like, I just mean the mosh pits get bigger.
Yeah, yeah.
People get crazier in those type of shows to the point where the mosh pit got so big they had to stop the show 3 times because it was getting dangerous because it was spreading out in the club and people getting banged into the wall and stuff. And they basically had to tell the audience, basically, you need to calm down, keep it more contained, otherwise they're gonna make us stop the show. It was like that insane. And like that energy is something you just don't get, from your Nirvana playing. I hate to say, because their band, who I think is way overrated. Sorry, but actually, I find a lot of those grunge bands overrated. That's a whole different story. You know, I'm just gonna throw this out there. It's gonna offend some people, but I don't care. Shotgun, heroin in a shotgun, make you a legend. You know.
I'm a big Cobain fan myself, but that's okay. Like art is subjective, right? Like we were saying. So
Mhm.
I think it all
I
definitely.
don't listen. Listen, I love Nirvana when they were out. I just think they blew up so much bigger after he died.
No, I mean, you could
You know.
definitely be right about that. And then there was also the whole controversy related to, did he really kill himself or did she pay somebody to have him killed? Yada yada yada. So
Yes.
you
Yes.
know that definitely tied into it for sure.
By the way, that's a great documentary.
Right. Soaked in
You know
bleach.
what I'm talking about? Yep.
Yeah.
Great documentary.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, El Duce from the Mentors is in that video,
Yep.
claiming he was the
R.I.P.
one. Yep. Hmm.
R.I.P.
Yep.
After falling victim to the same train that the other journalist
Yes.
fell victim to.
Hmm.
Ironic.
Interesting.
Um. So.
No, like I said, I never disliked. In fact, I love Nirvana when they first come out because not that I found out about them, but in New York, New Jersey area, we had a great college radio station,
Mhm.
and they broke all those bands before like they ever hit anything commercial.
Very
So
cool.
I remember listening to um, the album with Teen Spirit, and I remember having it like a month before I heard it on the radio, and not because it was like I discovered them. I just happened to be listening to the radio station, college radio station. They had them on and they played it. And I was like, this is really kind of cool,
No, yeah, that's
you
really
know.
cool.
And it was different at the time, you know.
Right.
Um, they get see, and that's the other thing. I think they get a little bit too much credit because people are like, well, they changed music. But I look at it this way: about a year before, music was starting to change. It was going from metal to more of an alternative hard rock, and I think it was more Jane's Addiction that kind of started that.
And we bring in the early '90s kind of that vibe, late '80s, early '90s.
Yeah,
I can see what you're saying for sure. Um,
yeah.
and yeah, who else? Like, there's like for sure a few bands in there as well, lumped in like with around the Jane's Addiction side that were like smaller that don't get the credit
Hmm.
like the Nirvanas. You know what I mean? Totally.
Oh yeah. I mean, you have bands
Same
that
with
were out
Knives,
there.
right? We leave mention five,
Mhm.
leave five off. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, around that time period, you have like Mudhoney that was coming up and who never got big. The Melvins, other bands like
I
that who
love the
were
Melvins.
actually influences on Nirvana, but they never got that mainstream
Right.
push. You know?
Right. Totally. Um. So if you could, I know you kind of said that you were maybe working on a few designs, but if you could collaborate with anyone on a knife through
Hmm.
history, like anybody throughout human history, um, it can be as abstract as you would like it to be. Who would you collaborate with?
Wow. Yeah, all right. So this is going to be. I have because of my outdoor love. I love Nessmuk knives.
Okay.
I would have loved to have met Nessmuk, you know, and really kind of because like I've read his book and it's amazing that the guy wrote a book in the late 1800s, early 1900s. The principles that he was talking about going lightweight and everything else is what became modern hiking and camping now, you know.
Yeah.
But he was talking about it back then when everybody else was carrying around as much weight as possible. So he was ahead of his time. And that Nessmuk design knife stood the test of time. So I would love to meet him and kind of figure out where was your brain at when you like more picking his brains. I don't think I could redesign with him.
Sure.
But if I had to design a knife from scratch, I love tactical knives. I think it would be Bob Kazula. I would love to design something with him.
Very
You
cool.
know,
Great choice. Great
I have
choice.
yeah, I have a love of tactical knives.
I've seen a
You know,
few of his Marfion collaborations that are on my,
Mhm.
top five Grail list for sure.
Oh yeah,
Um, so
like I would actually like to order one of his custom knives directly from him.
Oh yeah,
You know,
that'd be
from
very,
three to
very
four
cool.
thousand dollars. You know,
Right, right. Um,
I have some of his production knives. You know, stuff he collaborated with Civivi, with Boker. You know, that sort of stuff. I had that, and I also have his Kazula branded. Tactical flipper, the one that sells for about $80 or so.
okay.
They don't know who the OEM is on that, but it's a great little knife. But I would love to get one of his custom.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. He's definitely up there in terms of custom makers for sure. Um, so kind of going back to like the content side of things, right?
Mhm.
Um, how would you say your process of content creating has evolved over the time as you've grown?
Oh. Well, when you first watch my older videos, you could tell I wasn't as sure as I am of myself now.
Sure.
Like I can jump right into a video now and record it and maybe have one or two little edits. I also got to the point now where I used to stress over little things. Like sometimes I would sit there and go, and then I would go back and edit that out. Now I just don't because it's not worth it. People don't care if they hear me say or not. But I was worried about it for a time. So a lot of my videos, I would go in and just voice over or cut out those parts, re-record the vocals for that stuff, and it made things a little choppy. Even though sound wise it sounds smooth, but I know when I listen to it, okay, that volume dropped slightly there because I dubbed over a word or. So it took me a long time to get into that. But also too, like in the beginning when I first started doing the videos, sometimes I would have to literally write a script for myself and keep it off to the side because I was like, oh, this one's a frame lock, this is a liner lock, and it wasn't because I didn't know them, but I just wasn't comfortable talking about them on camera. Where now I just pick up a knife and I can, even without knowing the specs, I can look at it and tell you what I'm looking at. You know what
Right,
I mean?
right.
So I feel much more comfortable. Even the intros that I do the same intro every time, every show, right?
Mhm.
Which is basically I say, welcome back to the channel, fellow adventurers. If you're new here, we do EDC gear and knife review videos. If you like that kind of content, subscribe to the channel. And then I remind that channel memberships are available and that channel members are eligible to go into a once monthly giveaway for a free knife and that they get members first, content. And then I proceed. I used to have to record that like 5 or 6 times because I would fumble it. Now it's just like I can do it blindfolded. I can do it, without thinking. It
Right,
becomes
right.
second nature, doing the same thing. And my editing process really sped up. Where it used to take me literally 2 to 3 hours to edit a 10-minute video, I can record something now and get it edited, adding the overlays and everything. I could probably edit it in about 20 minutes
Very cool.
and get it sound corrected, where all the levels are correct, color editing, that sort of thing. My workflow has just gotten a lot better with that.
Very cool.
Now, where I still struggle is sometimes getting my ass off the couch and into the studio to actually record. You know,
Right on.
sometimes like one of the things is like I usually like to wait to go into the studio after my wife goes to bed because I just don't want you know knocking on the door or anything else. Because it happens by mistake. Like
Dude,
the other day, I was recording a
totally.
video and she didn't know. Yeah, and she didn't know, and I didn't. I usually use my phone as my camera.
Mhm.
I mean, I have all kinds of camera gear, but I just find using my phone is just that much easier, to be honest.
Sure.
And well, the other day, I usually put it into airplane mode when I go to record. The other day, I forgot to do that. She was driving home from work, and she called me right as I was recording, and it threw. I had to basically throw the video away, start over again.
Right.
So I wait till she goes to bed, and that way, I don't have to worry about that. Or if she, that way too, like I'm not making her to stop watching TV in the other room so she doesn't bleed in. I just try to be courteous
Totally.
like that.
Totally.
But sometimes I just get so comfortable on the couch, and I'm like, I really want to go in there and record this video, you know.
Same.
So
I can relate to
it
that
happens.
struggle all too well, my friend.
But I've been pushing myself more and more. And the one thing is, like, I'm very lucky. Like, almost all the shorts I do at work.
Very cool.
I do in my office or one of the other offices at work, or I'm lucky I can get away and get peace and quiet at work for like literally when I shoot those 2 minute shorts, it's literally one or two takes at most,
Right.
you know, and I'll come back, I'll record that and I'll knock out one of those videos like, and this is what I do. This is kind of cheating, but imagine this is my phone that I'm recording. I'm holding the knife like this. I've got a cheat sheet with all the notes, all the specs and everything on the back of my phone. So I'm basically like
Ah,
reading it.
good
So
call.
yeah, it just makes it easier because then that way, like if I just start to forget what steel it is or whatever, I can just look at it real quick. And I have it there, and I'm looking at it anyway. You know,
Right.
so I knock out those videos really fast. And I have my intro. They're all pre-recorded. That intro I do. Where it zooms in from outer space to where I'm
Yeah, yeah.
standing, and then
Which is awesome.
and it fades into the video, and then my videos always have a graphic. Whatever brand I'm talking about, that brand pops up. With the name of the knife. Then who the designer is always pops up as text in there. You know, and then I put the overlays. For subscribe, comments, and all that stuff. But I can do that. I can do that whole editing process within 10 minutes.
Right on.
You know. Now, if I get really busy at work, I can't do it. But for the most part, I can usually get away for that little amount of time. And then what I do is when I take my lunch break is when I will call it, get it all set to upload on YouTube. Now, what I've discovered, I've been experimenting with it. Being here on the East Coast, if I upload a short at 3:30 every day,
PM or
okay, 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon, that's when I will get the most amount of views. And it's not scheduling it; it's uploading it directly. if I schedule it, no matter what I do, whenever I schedule it, I don't get any views. And like if you look at my videos that came out in the last 2 weeks, I've got 2,000 views on one, like 1,500, then 700, then like 800, and then I scheduled 2 videos. All of a sudden, when I did the scheduling of it, it dropped down to 53 views
Hmm.
from 1,000 to 53.
Right. Yeah.
So I did it the next day. I scheduled it. The next one got like 120 views, and I said, well, let me go back to not scheduling it. I went back to not scheduling it and just uploading it direct, and it went back up over 1,000 views.
Yeah.
There's something about when you schedule it, and I may be imagining this, but I've tried it several times, and I just noticed that that's what happens. So
Yeah.
now for the shorts, I don't schedule them anymore. They just get uploaded directly,
Right on.
you know.
Yeah.
So I do it all through the app.
Right on. Very cool. So, when you're maybe sitting down working on something, maybe like something that's not super creative, right? Like maybe you're at the office or something like that, right?
Mhm.
Um, what do you like to listen to? You like to sit down and jam some music? You a podcast guy? I know we kind of
I have
touched
music.
on where
I
we both
have
have
music
all over the
going
music
all
pit.
day long.
Right on.
First thing I do when I get to my desk in the morning, I log into my computer, I open up YouTube, and I just put a playlist in,
Very cool.
and my main music will play all day long.
Very cool.
I have YouTube Premium, so I don't have to worry about the commercials or anything. And I create these long playlists, and I have ones that are work safe, you know, and it'll just be music going like all day. Like I'm a music guy. On my ride home and my commute to and from work is when I listen to podcasts.
Okay. Very
And
cool.
then basically on Saturdays, me and my wife will go out every Saturday morning. We'll go to breakfast, and then we just get in the car and we'll drive around for a few hours. Not aimlessly, but we'll have places to go, and
Right.
we listen to audiobooks. Like we'll
Okay.
pick an audiobook together and we'll listen. And you know, do a lot of audiobooks that way, but while sightseeing and stuff, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I'm a music first guy. It's always gonna be music.
Right on. Very cool. So, with all like the new, more modern tactical folders, all making their rounds in the knife world, right? With all like the newer features and like all the fancier, not fancier, but like the more, what's the right way to say it? Like all like
More
the
premium or
Well, I was gonna say, like, the features, right? Like, what have been some features on some knives, like, whether it be, like, the Vosteed, like, um, Vancor lock or whether it
Mhm.
be, like, the Snex lock, something like that.
Yes.
What have been
Well,
some stuff that you've really enjoyed, and then what has been some stuff that
well.
you kind of had not enjoyed?
All right. First thing I hate speed holes on a knife.
Okay.
Can't stand speed holes. And the only reason why, and I was talking to Casey from Knives Fast, and he was saying he was getting a lot of flack for that new knife he came out with Kubi
The
because that speed hole.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
said he asked us, because we're in a group together, a lot of YouTubers, and
Sure.
um, he was talking about and threw it out to me, why do people hate speed holes? And I told him because so many gas station knives have speed holes that when I see speed holes on a knife, I just automatically think gas station knife, no matter what brand it is, because that's what I was accustomed to.
Sure.
So it's hard for me to get over that. But as far as it's really hard to say because there's not one lock system that I dislike. Like I said, frame locks are my least because a lot of times you only have scales on the show side. You
Right.
don't have it on the work side. But um, I like button locks. I like button compression locks. You know, I think back locks are my least favorite,
Okay.
except for when it comes to cold steel. A triad lock, you know,
Right.
is probably the strongest locking system out there.
Right.
You know, um, and almost every cold steel knife is just a beast. You know,
Yeah.
those are knives that I never mind taking out into the field.
Right.
But I think if a knife's done well, I don't think there's really anything I really hate on knives. Like I said, I think I'm bored with certain steels I'm bored with.
Okay.
Like I'm tired of seeing, M390.
Okay.
It's a good steel, but it to me it's done at nauseum. I'd rather have like a S90V. And honestly, I'm a MagnaCut fanboy.
Okay.
I will I have so many knives with MagnaCut because I love it, you know. But like I don't know, it's hard to say.
So,
Um,
kinda take this into another part of a question. So you said you like MagnaCut a lot. What are a couple
mhm.
blade steels you like a lot? What are your favorite? What's your favorite locking mechanism? And what's your favorite blade shape?
Oh god, see my love of knives. Like it's hard to say. Like I love Tanto, I love Warncliffe, I love Sheepsfoot, but I
Same.
also get drop point. What I'm not my least favorite is probably a clip point
Okay.
or a buoy.
Okay.
But even with that, I don't dislike them. They're probably my least favorite because I think when I look at those that they just reminded me they just not remind me, they remind me of old school buck knives and stuff like that,
Right.
you know? Um and it's weird because I like big knives, I like small knives. I don't really and that's my problem. I like so many different things, you know? I love camel carbon. Like 80s camel carbon is to me like one of the greatest things ever, you know?
Okay.
And I know it's not everybody's thing. I'm not a fan of like on traditional knives. I know like a lot of traditional guys, they love bone handles. Not a fan. At least not a fan of like jig bone,
Okay.
you know, where if you have like this knife here, this is an old forge. I mean that's an orange stained bone. I don't mind that.
Right.
It doesn't look it doesn't look like something my grandfather had, you know?
Yeah.
But it's I think my least favorite deployment is a front flipper. But even with that being said, I have a crap ton of front flippers and I can flip them. It's not a problem. I just I don't necessarily like the look of a front flipper, and I'm different than a lot of people. A lot of people don't like traditional flippers. I'll take a traditional flipper any day of the week. You know,
Right.
this is my by the way, this is a monster. This is the TCAL CW.
Very cool.
This is just a giant size hard use knife.
Right on.
Now this was made in Taiwan for them when this series came out. This is a button lock, but that button right there you can't press it by mistake because it's actually below the scale. So you
Ah,
have to really get in there,
very cool.
try and push that down. So it's not going to fail. And it's such a heavy duty knife. And the thickness of that blade is just pretty intense. Now, they have the new American made folder that was on their Kickstarter. I was backer number one. It arrives to the house tomorrow.
Very cool.
So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
Very cool.
UPS, I got the notification. They'll be here tomorrow.
Very
Um,
cool.
Some people hate assisted opening knives. I have no problem with assisted opening. I think this is perfect for them. Like this is another big knife, an off grid, the beast of a knife, but it's assisted opening, you know.
Right.
But I have no problem with that. I mean, I get the reason for it, especially like I have friends who are in, who are police or first responders, and a lot of times you only have a split second to get that open.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So for them, it makes sense, you know. I don't need it because I could probably flick any knife open just as fast as I could that. But I don't have a problem with it. I know some people are diametrically opposed to assisted opening knives.
Yes. Yeah, and
I
I
don't.
tell you, I experienced some, of the original Ken Onion designs back in the
Mhm,
early 2000s, right? I got to handle the Kershaw Offset, which was a '05 Knife of the Year designed by Ken Onion,
mhm.
and, he made some really cool ones that were designed, speed assisted opening, but you could still close them with one hand, and that I thought was
Right.
really cool. Um, but kinda moving in a
I
little
don't know.
different direction, um
Just real quick. It's hard to say what my favorites are because I just pick knives. Like I like the language of knives. I like every time there's a new technology, new something that comes out, whether it was the shark lock or sort of thing. Even when the access lock, not that it was new, but when it became more widespread after Benchmade's patent ran out, if it's done well, I like it. I love the push button liner lock. or compression locks. The Vanker lock is really cool. You know, what people don't realize is that there's different styles. You have a push button pivot lock, which is different than a Vanker lock, even though they
Right.
operate the same. Because
Right.
the Vanker lock has magnets in it
Okay.
that help it, where some of them are literally that center pivot is just pushing the liner. So you know, but yeah, and I don't know. I just like knives. It's hard to say. Like, and I know it sounds like a wishy-washy answer, but I just like knives because I have so many knives.
No, right, and
You
when
know.
you collect something so much, it's like it is hard. It's like picking your favorite kid, you know? It's it's hard, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Um, so kinda taking it a little abstract direction, I wanna ask you this, I thought this would be a fun question. So, if you woke up tomorrow and you were a pocket knife, what pocket
Hmm.
knife would you be?
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go with a weird answer. I'm gonna go with a. See, I'd love to say some exotic, crazy knife, but thinking about me and my awkwardness at times, but yet at times being on par with a lot of things, I'm gonna say I would be the Manix 2. Spyderco Manix 2.
Right on, great
You know,
answer. I like that
the
answer.
Manix 2 a lot of people don't necessarily like the look of the Spyderco, but that Manix 2, man, it works so well. It to me, it's got a cool kind of vibe. Is it like the sexiest knife in the world? No, but it's got a vibe to it.
Totally,
And
totally.
that's like I've always felt like I have like my style is always like has a little bit of a vibe to it.
Right on.
You know,
Very cool, I like that answer, that's a good answer. Um, so kinda taking it back to, like, the content creating side of things, when you're feeling stuck on a project or maybe, like, some writer's block kinda thing, or excuse me, you're feeling like, maybe you come to, like, a fork in the road kinda thing, what are some things that you like to do to, like, work through it or, like, get past it?
if I'm stuck, like there was a review that I had to do, pushing it off, pushing it off, pushing it off. But I just I didn't like doing it. Like not because I didn't like the product or anything. I just was not in the mindset. Hold on, I got to adjust this.
Oh, you're
I
good.
was not in the mindset to do that that particular project at that point, even though I knew I had to do it. Like I'm pushing it off, and I was like, all right, I'll just do something else. And then I said, well, let me see what other people are doing with it. And I watched a lot of other people's videos, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do something completely different with it. And it was, if I can tell you what it was, the video I did for the tabletop camping fan.
Okay.
Like I'd seen videos with it, and I was like, no, you know what, I'm going to take it actually outside and show it in use outside at a picnic area and show kind of what it does, how you could pack it, and the whole thing. And nobody else was doing it that way, and I just said it was because everybody's doing the same old that I wanted to try and do something different. And that video got it didn't get a crap ton of views, but it got a lot of good reactions.
Right on.
And I watched it when I watched it back. I'm like, I'm proud of the way it came out. I thought it looked good. I thought it flowed well. Um, but it's a product that's kind of like, all right, how many people are interested in you know, a rechargeable fan? It's not necessarily an EDC item, it's a camping item, and it's really a car camping item. You're not going to take it backpacking or anything. So it's a niche audience to begin with. But the company reached out to me, and I loved it. I loved the product. It actually, for car camping, it's one of the coolest products out there. You know, I've got something that I have to do a video on very soon, um, and that's this, but I haven't done it because I haven't been able to get out camping yet. And this is a water bottle by a company called Epic Filters. So it's a Nalgene bottle that has a filtering system. So that way
Oh,
you can take water right out of the stream, it'll filter, and it'll be safe to drink.
very cool.
But it's been winter and snowing and like 5 degrees, so I haven't been able to get out there and film this. I can't wait to go hiking with this. So they sent me this, but they also sent me um, a pitcher that goes in the refrigerator. So you just fill it with tap water, and it filters the water, and you get pure water out of it.
Very cool.
Um, yeah, and that I've actually been using, and I have to do a video on that because I've been using that for like 3 months now. Let's see. No, for about 2 months now, and it's worked out really well. So now I got to figure out how can I present that in a video.
Right.
Because you can't really do a top-down video on a picture that's this big, with a quart of water in it, or whatever it holds, and demonstrate. So I got to take it over into the kitchen, show you how it fills up, and do. So that's going to be something that's going to be interesting to do because it's not going to be my normal,
Right.
you know. And I'm trying to take some products that aren't necessarily just knives, because this was never supposed to be just a knife channel.
Right.
And in fact, recently I changed from, it was originally Adventure 50, and that's where you had the motorcycle logo. Then it became Adventure 50 Knives and EDC. And I realized that was holding me back because if I ever wanted to promote certain things, they don't allow you to promote the word knife. So that's when I made the decision. I talked about it in the live stream about, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I talked about everybody, how would you feel if I changed it to Adventure 50 EDC and Outdoors? And that's what it is now, you
Right
know.
on.
Um, and then, of course, Buonati Ninja made me some new patches,
Very cool.
with the logo on it. But I changed it because it's going to be a mixture of stuff. It's going to be outdoors. It's going to be EDC,
Right on.
and that's going to keep me from getting bored.
So, what would you say your favorite and your least favorite part about content creation is?
Um, my favorite part is honestly when I do get to collaborate with companies because I've gotten to see some products I probably would never purchase myself. Um, you know, and it's exciting when they reach out to you and say, "Hey, we're going to send you a new product." It's
Right.
exciting. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not one of the big channels that gets stuff every day, so it doesn't happen all the time. So that's kind of exciting. The thing I hate the most is the and it's weird because it's a double edged sword. The grind of it, the knowing all right, I have to put out these videos. If I don't, then what's going to happen is people aren't going to see new content, and they're going to just go move on to watching other stuff.
Sure.
You know, but at the same time, you have to kind of fight. You got to push yourself to do that, and you got to fight burnout too, because
Absolutely.
burnout's a very real thing.
Absolutely.
Um, I know a couple of creators who I'm friends with, and they wanted stepping back a little bit because they were getting burnt out on doing it so much. And I've had moments of that this year. I mean, altogether, I think it was. I don't remember. I think I hit 450 videos total in the last year and a half or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but mind you, a lot of that is shorts, but still, it becomes an effort to do it, but it's an effort that is rewarding at the same time. It's like it's kind of like right there. And I think the biggest thing, though, honestly, that I love about content creating has been making friendships with other creators like yourself. I have a lot of friends I've made in the last year and a half who, besides talking in chats, like we talk to each other, whether it be on Instagram, texting each other, calling
Right.
each other, and that kind of like bonding is really important. Like I mean, I've been part of the guitar community. I think it's part of the parent. Oh, and one of the other things, I'm a paranormal investigator. I run a paranormal team. I
Very
used to
cool.
do a podcast based on the paranormal, and I had to step away from that because that whole world got very toxic. The guitar world on the internet has become very toxic, where the knife community isn't like that. I
Right.
find the knife community one of the friendliest communities ever. And it's so bad that we have this stigma of knives are weapons, and some people just, will never accept that. No, a knife's a tool.
Right.
I've never cut anybody with a knife other than myself, you know?
Absolutely.
Um, and I don't intend to. Could it be used in a defensive situation? Yes, anything can. And I can pick up a rock off the ground. It doesn't matter,
Right.
Um, you know, but people have that stigma. Yet we are like one of the friendliest communities out there. You know,
Yeah,
I,
that's
I
very
like
true.
it's one of those things. It took my wife a while to realize that because when I first started, she was like, she goes, she was really enjoying being, with these people. I was like, yeah, because it's different. It's like, and now that sometimes she's jumped into the live streams, so every once in a while she'll come on and she's met some of the people now,
Right.
and she's starting to realize, yeah, there are a lot of good people, and like one of the people in our community sent me, gifted me a knife. they had heard that one of the knives. I was talking about my Grail knife, and both of them they reached out to me and they're like, "Hey, I got something I want to send you. Can I send it to you?" So I was like, "All right." I didn't really know this person just other through chat. All of a sudden, I get a box, and the person is Joe Kasperick. The guy's awesome. And the knife I had mentioned was the Monster Aurora Ray. It's like a $250 knife, and I was talking about how I love that knife so much. It's one of my Grail knives, even though it wasn't like a $600 knife. It was one of my. What's I get a box, and in it, he sends me this really cool flashlight. He sends me the Aurora Rays box, everything, and just a letter. And like honestly, I broke out into tears. I was so overwhelmed that somebody who I didn't know in the community that I was barely part of when it happened. I was only in the community at that point for like 3 or 4 months, and just would send me this knife. And now I've tried to do the same thing with some other people where hey, who said, hey, they're interested in this and that, and I'll send stuff, because I'm trying to pay it back. But like
Right.
the fact that somebody who didn't know me decided to do this for me, and I realized like there's so much more of that in the night community that goes on, especially behind the scenes. You talk to some people, you're like, hey, this person just sent me this or this, that. And then like recently I got to meet Fred the Love, who we all know, part of the community.
Yep.
Fred's a big knife collector, and now he's doing live streams. And I met up with him. Uh, we were about, I don't know, I guess like 2 hours, about an hour and a half apart. So we kind of met in the middle. We went to Starbucks, and he brought this case of knives out. And he's showing me these knives that I can only imagine to dream about.
Right.
All these collectible high-end knives. He's got everything. And he turns to me, he goes, hey, I got a case here. If you want to take any of these home and do content with, I'll give them to you. And I'm like, and you send them back. But I'm like, well, you just bring them back to me. And I'm like, all right, this is a guy who I'm meeting for the first time in person. Now, of course, we talked online a lot. And he's like willing to hand me these knives. And some of these knives are like $1,000 knives for me to take home and do content with. Now, I didn't do it because one, I'm so far behind on making content that I'm kind of obligated to. I didn't want to hold on to them. I told him, we'll get together again. Maybe at that point, I'll borrow some. But it was like this guy's just trusting me. Like that's the kind of community this is, you
Right.
know. And then like when you start to get into it, and you start to make friends, and you wind up being in these pass around groups, and and people are sending you their knives, and you're sending. It's just wild the way it works. And that was one of the things, like in that video I did last week, where it was, I told something like the truth about the YouTubers you watch or something. They a lot of times people think, hey, we're in competition, but we're really not. We all work together, like behind the scenes. Who's helping you? Like there have been times where I've reached out to YouTuber X, Y, and Z and be like, hey, who do I contact at this company to have them send me knives? And they'll be like, okay, if they know, they'll tell me. And sometimes they're like, hey, listen, they don't really take it or whatever. And there have been times where I've helped a couple of channels. There was a channel that was bigger than mine, and I was talking to the content creator, and I was like, your channel's bigger than mine. Why aren't you getting gear? He's like, well, I don't know how to approach it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to help you with it. And I sent him basically the email that I would send to companies. And I said, take it and change it around to make it fit you. I was like, this is what I'm sending to people. And like almost immediately after that, he was like, that's a good idea because I never thought of doing it that way. And he started sending emails out. He started getting a lot of stuff. And now he's getting tons of stuff. And he writes me all the time like, hey, you got any advice for this? And I'm like, nope. It's like sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
Yeah. Right.
I don't. I'm still new at this too. I'm doing this what since October of 24, as far as an EDC channel. So it's not been a huge amount of time. But I've made some really good friendships, and like I said, we help each other behind the scenes. It's one of those.
Absolutely. So we kind of touched on
And
this.
then
Go
I
ahead.
would say, and the big thing is like I've had some of the big channels, like I had Metal Complex shout me out on his show one day, and that got me like 250 subscribers out of nowhere. Bees Blaze has shouted me out. Knives Fast. You know, so many channels have helped me along the way. So that way now, like some of the channels who are just starting out, I make them mods in my chat so they could so they could share their links. Because
Right.
that's what people did for me. You know,
Absolutely.
and like no one gets there by themselves. You
Right.
know?
That's a fact. That's a fact. That is a fact, my friend. So, kind of going back to the knife side of things, what would you say, we kinda touched on this a little bit, excuse me. What would you say your, like, most carried non-EDC items are? Like, you big flashlight guy? Pen
Oh
guy?
yeah.
Handkerchief guy? I know you said you're a watch collector as well.
Okay, so basically that's the other thing. Every day, Monday through Friday on Instagram, I usually post a picture of my full carry. So every day there's three knives on me. There's usually a folding knife, a fixed blade knife, and then a slip joint knife. And then there's always a small Swiss Army knife. So technically there's four knives, right? There's always a multi-tool, a pry bar, a Zippo lighter. Um, I don't carry a hank because I find them just big and bulky, but I do carry small microfiber cloths because I wear glasses and I like to clean them and I also like to clean my knives.
Right.
Um, there's always a pen and a write in the rain pad in my that slides into my wallet. So I always have those. Always have my watch, obviously cell phone. Um, every day I had my Wazoo Viking Spark. So this is a knife. This is a sharpening stone,
Oh, okay.
and then this is a ferro rod with a striker, so I can start a fire. You know,
Very
I
cool.
always have that with me. Um, so in a in an instant, I could always touch up my blades with
Yeah,
a
very cool.
whetstone. That sort of thing. Some people comment all the time that they think I carry way too much stuff. And I'm always like, maybe I do, but you know what? I do me, you do you. That's all.
Right.
I had somebody comment on TikTok the other day. He was like, counting your multi tool, you have five knives on you. I'm like, yep, you're right. I have five knives on me. You know,
Um,
and it's just like it's for different things. Like for instance, I will probably on my little Swiss Army knife here. I almost never use the cutting implement. I basically use the toothpick and the tweezers on this. You know,
right.
that's why it's carried around.
Hey, yeah, and
This
everyone
way, yeah. And
yeah.
I often also carry a neck knife.
Okay, right on. I was gonna
You
say,
know.
yeah, everyone, likes to rotate it a little bit differently, you know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
um, I always
Like
like to
I
ask
will show you.
I always like to ask people what they carry outside of the knives.
Yeah, like I was carrying this little neck knife earlier today. I took it off. It's just a tiny little guy that actually almost works like an X-Acto knife, just for cutting packages open and stuff.
Right, very
You
cool.
know, but I carry and the thing is, I never carry the same knife 2 days in a row. So my knives switch out every day. Um, what I carried most this year, though, as far as the single item that I carried the most was my SOG Power Pipe multi tool.
Okay.
But even that is switched out now. Like the video I dropped yesterday was on this guy was the Rock Tool Gen R multi tool, and I carried this today. Just because I like to carry the stuff I do videos on too, because I like to go back sometimes and re-examine it. Because most of my videos are not long-term review videos; they're just unboxing and initial thoughts. You know, but sometimes when I'm carrying stuff, I might go back and make a video say, "Hey, this is a year in review."
Right.
You know,
Yeah, that makes sense.
so that sort of thing. Yeah,
For sure.
but yeah,
What
yeah, I
would what
carry a
would
lot.
you what would you say are, maybe 5 pieces of gear that are essential to you that you cannot live without? And as far as terms of, like, content creating, right? So, like, um, I know a lot of people say, like, phone, number 1, you know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
but so on and so forth. Like, what would you say are 5 pieces of your gear that you use that are essential?
All right, so I actually did a video. I did a couple of them, but I did one where I did an EDC challenge, where I went to Walmart and put together what was my essential EDC. So in my essential EDC, now I'm not going to count the phone because literally everybody carries a phone. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
Sure.
Whether it's the nun leaving the convent to go to church, she's got a phone on her. You know what I mean?
Right,
Type of thing.
totally,
So I
totally.
don't count the phone because But as far as my EDC, the five things that are always in my EDC, there'll always be a knife, a watch, a pen, a multi-tool, and then I know I'm forgetting something here. Wait, knife, watch, multi-tool, pen and pad, and what's the last one that I always carry?
Did you say
Oh,
primer?
a pry bar.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah, I will always carry those. Um, so like when I did that EDC. Oh, I'm sorry, not a pry bar, flashlight. Flashlight over it. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say flashlight. That's so when I did that EDC challenge, I actually challenged myself to do an under $50 challenge where I went to Walmart, picked up knife, multi-tool, flashlight, watch, and pen for under 50. Well, I managed to hit some clearance items, and I wound up doing the whole setup for under $30.
Nice.
That was one
Solid.
of my most viewed videos. I think I've got like 6,000 views on that video.
Very
You know,
cool.
people for some reason, anytime you do a video on Walmart knives, they do really well. My number one video last year was the when the Ozark Braille had dropped, and I did the video on that. I'm still getting more views on that on a regular basis than I am of anything else. I think I just broke 10,000 views on that.
Very cool. But yeah, what would you say are five pieces of gear that are essential to content creating for you? Like com-
Oh, that's
computer,
oh,
like editing software, like stuff like that. Microphone.
I don't do anything on my computer.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it's really funny because like right to the next to me, I have my I have my Mac. I've got a PC right there. They're more used for music editing, but when it comes to video editing, I do everything on my iPad.
Okay. Very cool.
I have an iPad 12 Pro that's like maxed out, like with the top configuration that
Okay.
you can get. And actually, that's one I bought, not I bought, but my company bought me for work because I also use it for production at work, video production. I find my workflow to be so much faster on the iPad or on my phone than I ever do, whether it be doing Photoshop on my computer and all that good stuff. I just got there's so many great editing apps. I never need to go into my computer.
Right on.
You know, um, but what I would say, like the keys, my phone, lighting equipment, um, microphones. I use wireless microphones and my iPad, and then just a pen and paper, so that way I could jot down notes.
Good call.
So like, all right, so basically my camera is face down this way, right, with the lighting. In
Sure.
fact, I'm going to change that. That's one of the things I'm changing because I usually have a light directly over it, and I find that's a little bright. So I'm actually taking some of my production lights home from work. They're going to be off to the sides now, so that way the light will be more even, and more balanced. But while I have that, it's on a not a tripod, but it's like a lever system.
Sure.
It hangs down, and I shoot. I have my iPad in front of me with whatever spec page. So if I'm doing this to VV Knife, I'll actually have VV's website open with all the specs there.
Very cool.
And I'm going to reveal a secret. So, when it comes time for me to measure the knife, like I'll take out the ruler and I'll measure and I'll look like I'm measuring. Total secret, I know what the measurement is already because
Right
I've
on.
already looked at the specs. So, you know, it's not that I can't use a ruler because yes, I use a ruler in my day job for years. It's just I'm going to get the exact number off of there, and I don't have to deal with anybody saying you made a mistake. Because the internet will do that.
Right.
You
Right.
know, so I'd rather So I am measuring it, but I have the number already in my head. You know,
Sure.
I did get yelled at recently online because for the longest time I was measuring everything with this little 6-inch NAS ruler. Um, I just thought it was kind of cool. NAS, knife company. I'll use the ruler. Somebody's like, why don't you just get a longer ruler? And I was like, all right, I'll get a longer ruler. So I went out to Harbor Freight and I got this metal, ruler, and it works great. And you know what? It is actually easier because now they have, when I have that knife that's over 6 inches, I don't have to kind of take it and then move it. So they
Right.
were right, you know.
Right.
I'm willing if you give me a criticism that I feel is justified, yeah, I'll go with it. I'll take that criticism all day and try to make it better.
Right on. Right on. Um, so can you recall a moment on your journey that made you feel like when you first started out, on the content creation side, can you recall a moment in your journey that kind of made you feel like you were on the right path
Yes,
or like headed in
yeah,
the right
I
direction?
will. Yeah, and this was before the EDC video. The first motorcycle video that I did that really started to get views, and actually, it's still my most watched video today. It's got like over 14,000 views. When I did that first video that really took off, I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" I was like, "I may have something here,"
Right.
and those videos did really well. All my motorcycle gear and content videos did really well. The ones people weren't watching was when I was doing all the roadside stuff and going to the different attractions and amusement parks and stuff and doing all that stuff. And that was all for me. That was like more of my art, where the motorcycle stuff was more like, hey, these people really like that. And it's funny because I was building a decent audience, not a big. Like I only had about. I remember I had 450 subscribers when I started doing EDC content, and this week we just broke 3,000. So
Congratulations
in
on that.
basic, thank you. So basically, like in now about 15 months, I added, like 2,500 subscribers, you know, and the rate's been going up. Well, when I really first like, I there are a couple services you could join, like uh, TubeBuddy, and the other one is like vidIQ, where you can go in, they'll help you with figuring out titles, this, that, the other thing, and your strategies for videos and all that good stuff. And they're paid services. Um, which now I think like I don't really think I need them anymore because I've kind of got the flow of it. But you never know everything,
Right,
and you
right.
never will. I'm one of those people, like I said, I'm always trying to learn. So I still pay for those services. But when I got the first award, that was for 50,000 views total for my channel, I was like, wow, and I was proud of that. And my wife had got one of those little plaques made that says 50,000 views. And I was like, wow, 50,000 views, that's a lot. And now I'm approaching like 400,000 views. So,
Very
you
cool.
know, but it was when I started to see those numbers starting to increase and people were interacting more, you know. Um, and I, knock on wood, I've been lucky. I haven't dealt with a lot of like nasty people on there.
Yeah.
You know, I had one guy who was nasty, but he had valid points. And I just wrote back to him. I was like, okay, I get it. I get why you didn't like whatever. I don't remember what it was at this point. And the guy had the guy had legitimate points, but the way he went about it was like real. He's like a real a hole about it,
Yeah.
but he had legitimate points. And I was like, I was like, well, I could either be butthurt because he was an a hole about it, or I could really listen to what he had to say, type of thing. So, but what it was when I started to get those exchanges where people were leaving comments, that's when you're starting to grow something. And then when
Sure.
you started seeing the same people leaving comments, you're like, oh wait, they're, I don't want to say a fan, but they like what I'm doing, that they keep coming back. So that's when you start to know, you know. And then when I started seeing the same people in the chat, like when I was doing the live streams, my live streams have gradually gotten bigger. Now I do a live stream, at a crazy hour. I do it Sunday nights at 10 p.m. You know, and I go off at midnight. Most people are headed to bed because they work Monday.
Right.
So I'm not going to draw those big numbers, but at the same time, I'm not going up against Metal Complex. Like if I went on, like on a Friday night, or Bees, or I picked the only time that was available when nobody else was really on. And I
Sure.
know I'm never going to get a huge live audience, but I get a nice following each week, and we have a good time. But and I'm one of those people, like I never want to step on anybody's toes. You know, I have thought about Wednesday nights aren't as full as other nights. I thought about doing, and I'm probably going to, a Wednesday 7 o'clock live stream, because that's one. It's going to be a little different. It's going to be more laid back, going to be a little bit less night stuff. And my wife, early enough, my wife would jump on and hang out. And some
Right on.
people have really like on the shows she's been on. They liked it. They liked her being on, because she talks about different things. She's not really a nice person, you know.
Right on.
Like the other day, she was on and she was talking books, and people actually, a few people in the comment wrote that she had given them good information. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah, very
So I
cool,
wanted to
very cool.
end with that, leave me with the hardcore knife content on Sunday night, you know.
Right. Okay, so closing out, I got just a few more for you, all right? I won't keep you too much longer.
Absolutely. I know
Uh,
because I just ramble on. By the
oh
way,
no, you're
I'm one
good.
of the
I'm a
people.
talker too,
I,
so.
I could talk the balls off a rhinoceros.
So when you first started making videos and uploading, who did you go to in the YouTube community or the YouTube space, kind of for like advice or help? Was there anybody that you kind of reached out to and was quick to like help or give advice, or was it kind of just
Yeah.
trial and error on your own?
Well, some of it was trial and error, but when I got into the EDC community, um, I had talked to certain people, and like one of them, Jared Neve, was a guy who I just emailed out of the blue one day. Actually, he was on Facebook. I just sent him a message, and he gave me some advice. Like he didn't know me, and he's got a huge channel. He didn't have to take the time, but he did.
Right,
Casey from Knives Fast is give me advice. Bees, Titanium Justin is somebody I lean on a lot. I love Justin. Um, Weldon Carey, you know, I'm many years older than Weld, but when I first, he was like one of the first friends I actually connected with in the community, and we would talk all the time. And I'd be like, hey, tell me this, tell me that, and he helped a lot. He's a young kid, but he's figured it out.
yeah, great guy.
He's getting subscribers, like you can't believe. Um, and I was actually so thankful for his advice in the beginning that randomly one day I said, give me your address. And I knew he was collecting the Desert Warrior knife. And I found a Desert Warrior knife and I just sent it to him. I was like, as a thank you. He's like, you didn't have to. I was like, no. I was like, you know what? With all the advice you give me and help, and he was promoting me on his live streams as well. That brought me a lot of. So it's like there were so many people who helped me,
Right,
and that's why like I've had certain people now who are starting out, and and they've asked me for advice, and I mean I don't know everything, but if I can help them, I will because
right.
people help me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's a lot of
G
nice
Ball,
people, a lot of kind people.
yeah, yeah, G Ball's helped me a lot. I mean, there's other people I'm probably forgetting, but a lot of people I reached out to, they were more than willing to help. You know, I always laugh because Metal Complex is like, he's got like what 800,000 followers or something now, some
Right,
crazy number like that, right? And he always jokes, like he said it before. He goes, "I'd love to see a channel like yours catch up to mine." I don't think it'll ever happen, but it's kind of cool.
right.
Um, Rob from Rob's Dirty Knives, has given me advice. There's a lot of people in the community, who
Yeah, yeah,
have,
there's a
and
lot of
even like
awesome people.
sometimes it's, and the one who has actually given me a lot of advice, who talked to me a lot, JD, from Big Red EDC.
Wow, okay.
Jody's awesome. I mean, he's a great guy.
Right on.
Zach stuff, he's helped me. I mean, so it's been a lot of YouTubers along the way that helped me, you know. Um, and I'm grateful for all of
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it really also drives home the point about the community, right? It's like,
them.
we always talk about how great the community is, whether it's just you or me or anybody, right? In this
Hmm.
close knit knife world community, right? And I just think it's another nail in the coffin, so to speak, on how awesome all these awesome people are in the community. You know?
Yeah, and like real quick, two other people I really want to shout out because they've been, and there's been a lot of people along the way, but Kelly White. Kelly didn't know me from Adam, but I was a new creator, and she was like, "Here, I'm going to send you a bag of lanyards and monkey fist and everything else." You know,
Absolutely.
um, Jimmy Crow, when I hit 1,500 subs, gave me a knife to give away. You know, it's just the community's awesome. It really is. You know,
Yeah.
um, Marshall and Marissa from Legion Steel, when they were doing their show every week, I became good friends with them. They helped me a lot in the beginning. You know,
Very cool.
so it's one of those. There's so many good people.
So Can you recall the first knife that you ever gave away on your channel and who won it?
Yes, yes. Ron Crow won it,
Very cool.
and it was a Sen Cut Brazoria. He won the very first giveaway.
Very cool. Very cool.
So
So as your channel continues to grow, what are some goals you set for yourself in regards of YouTube or content?
I don't know. I mean,
That's kind of a
a dream of
broad
mine.
question. I
Well,
understand.
no, I will tell you, a dream of mine would be to do this full time
Sure.
and not have to work a day job. But that takes years to do. Like, look, G Ball, he's doing that. It took him years to get to that point. You know, he, sort of thing. And then there are guys who have a huge following who still keep their day jobs. But would I
Right.
love to be able to do it full time? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to happen? Not anytime soon. You know,
Right.
I mean, so but my goal this year was to get to 2,500 subscribers, and I just missed getting to 3,000 by the first of the year. I was just like 20 under it, and it's really weird. That last 25 subscribers to get to 3,000 felt like it took forever. Then all of a sudden I hit 3,000, and now I'm almost to 3,200.
Very cool.
Like and it comes in streaks.
Right.
But I think my goal for this year is to gain another 2,000 subscribers to get to 5,000 by the end of the year. You
That's
know,
very cool. Very cool.
I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's a goal. You
Hey,
know,
you got to set some
you got to
high
have a goal.
sometimes, right?
It's the old saying, aim high, shoot low.
Right. Absolutely. I was just gonna say
Why
that.
not? Why not shoot for the stars? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and
Um.
the only way it's going to happen though is for me to put in the work. Like, if I stop making videos, people aren't going to subscribe.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's one of those things.
Or the growth
That
could cease. Right.
Yeah. So I can't be I can't be complacent. I'm still a little channel. Yes, have I grown? Yes. But there's no complacency. There's no sitting back like with a feeling of accomplishment because I haven't really accomplished anything. Maybe when I get up to like, Metal Complexes, 8 zillion subscribers, maybe I'll say I accomplished
Right.
something. But, you know, right now it's small gains. We take small steps forward and we're thankful for it.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And I think those are wise words as well, sir. Um. So, out of all your blades in your collection, what would you say are your top three most carried
oh, most carried. Okay.
over?
My
Yeah,
T L
over the course of your
all right.
collecting days? What would you say are your most carried or your most find yourself pulling out the most often?
So as far as all right, my most carried fixed blade in the last year and a half has been my T-tail Piranha.
Okay,
My most carried folding knife is my Manix 2.
okay,
I would say the third one most carried, and we're gonna go with the slip joint because I told you I carry a slip joint fixed blade every day. My most carried slip joint is actually this one right here, the Jack Wolf Gateway Barlow.
very cool.
I find myself coming back to this knife all the time. You know, Um, yeah, I find myself just coming back to that knife. It just feels comfortable. It's comfortable. Like I've got this leather sheath for it. It goes in the sheath. So like everything about it just fits my style. You know, drop it in the pocket. So those are probably the three I carry most.
Okay,
Um, are they necessarily my favorite three knives? No,
sure.
no. Like I said, the Ferro Monster, Aurora Rays, that was one of my grail knives. That's probably my favorite knife I have right now. You the Kaiser Seaweed with the camel carbon insert, that is a favorite of mine.
Okay,
This Benchmade, the one that was modified with the aluminum scale, is a knife that I love.
good
And this
looking
is
Benjamin.
probably one of my most carried folders, but
Okay,
not the most carried. You know, um, but yeah, it's hard to say because, like I said, I try to carry a different knife every day. So even when I say that they're my most carried, they were probably carried 20 times. through the
Sure.
course of the year because I switched out so much. You
Um,
know.
so then kind of taking a different direction. So we've covered a lot of topics tonight, kind of talking.
Mhm.
Anything else about yourself maybe that people don't know that you would really like them to know? Any insights to Lance, aka Adventure 50?
Um, I think the thing that I'd like people to know the most is that I really do care about the community. Like, I jumped in and you know, it's one of those things. I do care about the community a lot. Now, if we're talking outside the knife community, um, the thing that people find most interesting is when I start to talk about my days of paranormal investigating. That's a whole different world I was in. Still in it. I still moderate a group on Facebook where people come in and they talk about different things. And I'm not one of those like, oh, a psychic. We need a no. I do everything scientific. I've got probably like $10,000 worth of scientific equipment that I roll into a supposed haunted area with, and I use science. Probably, I've been on I don't know 200 plus investigations,
Wow.
and probably less than five were actually something I found paranormal,
Wow,
where I
that's
couldn't
crazy.
disprove it using, where I couldn't debunk it using science, so to speak. But I have seen some shit that'll make you like your hair stand up, stuff I couldn't explain. But
Very
it's
cool.
been a handful of times, and one of my teammates, my friend Rick, he's also my best friend, but he goes, we live for that oh shit moment, you
Right.
know,
Right.
when you're out there and you all of a sudden there's something you just go oh shit, and I can't explain that. Um, and you very rarely ever get that. Most people think like they watch the ghost hunting shows and they think it's all that stuff you see on TV, and it's really not. Those things are selectively edited for
Right.
hours.
Right. Right.
And being in that community, I've actually, and because I had the radio show, um, I've gotten to meet everybody who's ever been on a ghost hunting show.
Very cool.
I've met them all, hung out with them all, um, and that's a really good community too. But over the last say 5 years, the community's changed.
Sure.
Everybody now is there just to be a TV star and wants to get on TV.
Yeah,
So
now I remember
you know,
when the first real waves of the paranormal ghost hunting reality TV really broke the
mhm.
and the times or whatever. It took the world by storm for sure. But
It did, and then it burnt itself out.
right, right, totally.
There's only real well, there are a few shows on, but there's only one that's been around almost from the beginning, and that's Ghost Adventure. All the other shows have come and gone,
Right on.
you know. Um, yeah, so it's one of those things, and I think that's actually going to be beneficial to the paranormal community as these shows go away. You're going to get the people who are really into it, as opposed to the people who are star chasing.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
You know.
Good way to wean people out, you know.
Yep.
Um,
Because that's what happened. It became so popular. Like everybody and his brother I knew all of a sudden was going out and buying equipment. And I was like, God, when I started this with my wife, there were maybe like in our area, maybe like two other teams. All of a sudden, I'm going to like conventions and I'm speaking at expos, and like I'm on the poster, like as one of the featured speakers and whatnot. And I go there, and all of a sudden, like, hey, we're in New Jersey. Oh, so are we. And all of a sudden, it went from like, oh, maybe there's five teams in New Jersey to like there's 200 teams in New Jersey.
wow.
You know, it just got crazy. And everybody you talk to, they're like, yeah, my goal is I want to get on TV. I want to get on TV. And one, they didn't realize what the reality was on TV is that one, there's no money in it. Even if you're on TV, you don't make any money. Not one of those people on TV was able to quit their day job.
Right.
So because you get paid very little for, cable TV, small time shows.
Sure. I mean, that makes sense. So I also wanted to ask you on your way out, last question I got for you, I believe. If you could go back and give your 21-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh boy. That's a rough one. That's a rough one. So from the time I was 21 to the time I turned 31. I was dating one girl, and I basically cut a lot of my friends out of my life. That if I could go back and do it again, I would have told myself, no, those people are really important to you. Don't let her get in the way of your friendship.
Right on.
Um, you know, and I was lucky enough that I reconnected with all my friends after we had broken up and whatnot. But it was there were a lot of friendships that weren't the same because they were like, oh, well, you're not with her now. You want to come back and hang out, and, and they were right, you know. But you live and you learn. When you're young, you do
Absolutely.
stupid things.
Absolutely.
You just do stupid things when you're young.
Totally. Well, I believe that's everything I got for you, Lance Adventure 50. I really appreciate you joining me tonight, brother. It's been an
Jay, I
absolute
had so much
pleasure.
fun. This is a lot of fun.
It
I
was.
appreciate this.
We're gonna have to
You
get
know,
together sometime and do a live stream together or something. That'd be fun.
absolutely, absolutely. I know. Well, it's all going to depend on this snow whether I have Wi-Fi this weekend or not.
Right,
Because
right. With
I
all the
almost, I
storms.
almost, I was. Yeah, well, last weekend I only got my Wi. I was my Wi-Fi went out, and I only got it back about 2 hours before the live stream.
Oh,
I had actually posted a video saying, "Hey, there may not be a live stream because I don't know what's going on the internet."
right.
So I'm hoping with this huge storm Sunday that I still have the internet. If I do, then Sam from Wyvern Kodiak is going to be on.
Cool.
So
Right
we're
on.
going to be talking about what's going on with them.
Very
But I
cool.
want to start having that's the other thing. I want to start having guests on my live stream. For a long time I wasn't necessarily confident doing it. Um, but now that I've done almost 50 live streams, I'm much more comfortable with it. So
Right.
and I just love talking to people. So just like us, we're connecting. I'll connect
Absolutely.
with everybody else.
Absolutely.
So
That's what it's really about, right? Like the interviews are
mhm.
so much fun, but it's really about building the connections. It's so much fun to just sit and talk. And it's like, the more you sit and talk and ramble with somebody, the more you realize how similar you are and you find veins that you both
Oh
enjoy. And
yeah,
totally.
yeah. Real quick, not to go off on tangents. I know we got to end, but it's one of those things. Like I know in our world, we have different political views in our world. We have different religious views and whatnot, but we never talk about that stuff. And we realize, take that stuff away, we're all the same. You know
Totally.
what I mean?
Totally.
We're all the same. We
Totally.
all want the same things. We want we want the best in life for our kids. We want to be able to, be happy. We all want the same thing. And
Absolutely.
so when you cut those things out, you realize people are the same.
Absolutely. And I tell you, it's so much fun just to learn that each more every day. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But
Yep.
thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you
You're
for
welcome.
joining me. Everybody at home, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys as always, and we will see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Thanks, everybody.